All right, Sydney Brown back with you. This time we're going to talk about the top 10 challenges of writing a tell-all memoir. Now, remember, the tell-all memoir is where you're talking about your life because it's a memoir, but you're really kind of talking about maybe scooping some information on maybe your ex-husbands or the any sort of a situation that people think they're going to get some juicy information, and they'll pick it up because they want to know the inside stories. So a lot of the times tell-alls have a lot of attraction, but they can come with some negativity too. So let's talk about 10 challenges or reasons why you may want to not do a tell-all. So number one, we're going to talk about the emotional toll that it could just wreak. Basically writing about your difficult experiences. Let's say it's not even about other people. It's just about you. Being that open and that vulnerable and that bare, it can be very uh, very scary, I guess. Is I don't even know what else to call it. It is just, you're vulnerable. You have the opportunity to be hurt by what you're sharing, and it can be emotionally draining, and it might even maybe resurface some of the traumas that you haven't dealt with. So just be aware, and obviously if you're in a position to, be willing to seek someone to talk to, and maybe a therapist or something to help you put some of this away. If you haven't yet, if you just buried it again, then maybe this is the right time to go ahead and work through some of that. Not judging either way, but I do believe that sometimes you can just go through this and see things differently later, when other times you may need some help. So don't hesitate. Number two, the reason you might have a challenge with a tell-all: legal concerns. So obviously, if you're talking about how, this person cheated on you, or this person wrote bad checks, or this person I don't know, they gambled their life savings away, whatever it is. If you're telling someone else's secrets, you might open yourself up to some legal concerns. So just be very cautious when you're talking about other people's secrets, because this is meant to be your tell-all. So that's the fine line that you really have to walk when you're doing a tell-all memoir that involves other people, because obviously other people are coming in and passing through your life. People expect to read about other people too, but you need to make sure that you protect yourself. Uh, Number three, kind of a privacy invasion. When you have a tell-all, uh, you're inviting scrutiny from the public. They're gonna know what you've shared, and they're going to make their own judgments. Now, it's not their place to judge, but people do, and they do. So just be aware that, if you've been on the internet ever, that there's trolls. I have to go in here and delete some really rotten things that people say sometimes. So there are trolls, there are people who are going to judge you, and there are just people that are mean. You have to make that decision for yourself. Is it something you're willing to go through? And that's truly only something that you can do, but you're opening yourself up a little bit, not right, that they do it, but you're giving them some of the power to make that invasion of your privacy. Number 4, relationship strains. You know, if you and I were BFFs back in high school and you were to say, Sid, she was such a slut, I would have an issue with that. And I would not want to go back to the class reunion and say, hey, how about that slut comment? You know, and you have to be careful. You have to know there are consequences to what you do, and you have to make that choice. Now, if you can verify that Sid or whoever was a slut, then that's the facts, and maybe Sid shouldn't have been a slut. But if you're going to say something that hurts someone, you really should either ask the permission or be prepared for that relationship to be strained or end. So just keep that in mind. Now, number 5, ethical considerations. Writing about other people, it should take some careful thought. Some, like I'm saying, ask their permission first. Make sure it's accurate. And if it's not something you can prove or back up, then maybe you don't want to put that there. Also, I find that you should always put disclaimers. Also, when you make comments about things, in my opinion, I thought, when you say things like that, it still could be hurtful, but it's less chance of a legal incident, in my opinion. See what I just did? Now, number 6, memory reliability. It depends on how long ago this was. If this was 2 years ago and you're still reliving it, every day, every night in your dreams or whatever, you may be totally on point. But if this is something from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 60 years ago, make sure that you remember it accurately, because we are fully capable of training our mind to believe what we want it to. And that works really well when you're trying to give yourself a positive mindset and shift the way you think about things. But if you became the wounded party in a situation, and you keep reminding yourself of that wounding over and over and over the years, at some point you don't remember what happened that long ago as much as you remember what you kept telling yourself. So if you reminded yourself incorrectly at some point, you may find that what you remember is entirely different than what other people remember. So make sure that you talk to other people, ask them what they remember about it. Ask them, what was their perspective? What did they think? And when you're doing that, you're kind of memory checking yourself, but also kind of getting a vibe for, even if you remember it technically accurately, maybe it's not the same story that you thought it was at the time. So just kind of, and that's one of the really great parts of taking a full year to do your memoir, is you're able to spend that time reflecting and talking to your friends and asking your family members, really digging into those things, and truly you could get some emotional healing at the same time. So memory reliability is something that you may find is a little bit hit or miss. So always verify if you can. Number 7, criticism. So when you share your story, you can expose yourself to criticism from strangers, from, experts in fields, from whatever. You may be talking about your life as a real estate agent and or as a doctor. Whatever your expertise is, whatever your journey was, you tell your story from your perspective, and that's what a memoir is. But understand that there's always going to be those people out there who know better and they know more, and maybe they really do. Maybe they are experts, true, but maybe they just have an opinion and they just want to criticize. Just know that you're opening yourself up to that. If you're doing a tell-all type thing and you're including other people or acting like the expert, you may be opening yourself up to some criticism. And then number 8, writer's block. When you're writing anything, it can be daunting to kind of try to put everything in the right order, in an order that is entertaining and interesting, intriguing. When you go into that, all of a sudden you may know it totally the topic that you want to write, but then you're like, where do I start? And so when you go through that, sometimes you just like, oh man, I don't even know how to tell, because I want to talk about, when Billy, sold the house and his son came home from school and he had moved out, and his son didn't know where his dad had moved. I just totally made that up. But, if you're going to tell that kind of a story, it's a great story. It could be very interesting, but you got to then figure out, where do I start with that? How do I make that into a really great story, instead of just, one day Billy Jr. came home and poof, dad was gone. You got to do it right. So just actually, I can help you with this quite a bit if you okay, side note. Make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and like this video if you will, but also look in my other videos, because look up outlining, and that's one of the things that will knock out writer's block. But anyway, back to this, sorry. Number 9, time commitment. When you're doing a memoir, you are going to commit a lot of time to this. That's why I suggest you give yourself a year. It may take you a month. It may take you 3 months, 6 months. I don't know. It just depends on how big of a story you want to do, how deep you want to go with it. But give yourself a year on your first one, because I really believe that the personal growth and the whole journey that you can experience is so amazing that you want that extra time. But if you don't have a year, if you don't have an hour, 5 hours a week, or whatever it is you allocate, because you can set it up for 15 minutes a day or an hour a week, or whatever you want. I do recommend you have regular writing sessions. I love it if people can try to do each day, but at least a few times a week. And I think that's realistic too. But as long as you are going to do this, you need to make a commitment to yourself to get to that finish line, because that's what happens with a lot of people is they'll start playing with it. They'll get, this many pages in, and then they'll just set it aside because they'll get busy, and then they forget about it. I don't want you to forget about it. I want you to get to your finish line. And so know that there is a time commitment, and know that you can do it, and just set that time aside. Now, number 10, market saturation. Now, what I mean by that, obviously, with the ability to self-publish in today's technology and in this market, there is a lot of competition. So if you're wanting to become a wealthy, best-selling author, this is probably, and I don't want to dash anyone's hopes, this is probably not going to make you rich if just on your memoir. I don't want to be hurtful. There are some stories that absolutely will bust through, but is that going to be the one that you write on your very first? I don't know. I don't know. But the story needs to be told anyway. And so I urge you to do it regardless. But just know that the market is full of other memoirs. So you need to find either your special niche that has the people who want to read what you have to tell, or they are the people who, they need to read it. And you have to do the work to find them. But if you do that, then you can absolutely get through this. All right, guys. Now, I know that this was a little bit heavier. I do want everybody to know that obviously a tell-all book can be super fun. It can be very interesting. It can be just, and when I say tell-all in this aspect, I'm talking juicy stuff. When I'm talking expert or credibility, I'm also talking about that, but that's more business minded, and that's absolutely no brainer. Go for it. But on the tell all, where it involves potentially hurting other people and stuff, those are the ones that you want to put some real thought into it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and make sure you comment below. I will jump in there in the comments and say hi. I'll talk to you soon.